Alright, as far as starting them in reading, the songboard was probably the first introduction, really. But we did do other things where I would begin to take words that were relevant, again, relevant to the classroom, relevant to what was interesting to them. So words, for example, from the freeze game, like happy, sad, mad, freeze, things that were interesting to them because they want to know how to read those words because those words are like, ah, cool, it's a part of our game. So I began introducing those words in the beginning in that game. So I would hold up the word happy and say happy, then hold the word sad, and then we got to the point where I would just hold it up and they would have to do it. And these were words that I had written on pieces of paper. So I wrote them out on pieces of paper, laminated them, and then by the end of the year I had not 100, I'd say probably about 50 words written out. Some of them were commands, some of them were nouns, cat, dog, flower, phrases, take a bath, and we would play different games, and you can make up games as you go with them. Some of the more advanced kids in the oldest group actually got to the point where they were making up phrases with these words because they were reading them so well that I would let them make up phrases with them. Obviously, the less advanced kids might do something as simple as pulling it out of a magic bag, out of a bag, and having to read it, but they have it memorized by sight. But either saying it or doing it themselves, those kinds of games. But as the year progressed, and with the two older groups, the things that I did to help them more than just the songboard to start reading were games with these words. And we also use some of the objects in the classroom. So a lot of they're not toys, they're called materials, but they're like they kind of look like toys of cats and dogs, cars, whatever. We would use those also with these words. But one of the first things I did, apart from teaching them the alphabet, but which can kind of be boring, but you have to teach them that anyway, teach them the sounds of the letters at least, to kind of give them a basic tool. I actually would tape up these words, so words that were relevant to them, like freeze, sad, happy, things that they wanted to know, and we'd already talked about, and they'd already seen before in written form. I taped them up on the wall. So little pieces of paper with the word on it, taped up on the wall on a sticky note. Then I put those other words, the words I had on pieces of paper written down, laminated and everything, in the magic bag. And they would all line up, and they would each get to pull out one of the words, and they would quietly go and look for that same word on the wall. And the first time you do this activity, it's like chaos, they don't know what's going on. Trust me, by the third or fourth time they're doing it perfectly, and they love it. They love this game. And you can mix it up and give them all kinds of different words. And they actually, over time, by the fourth or fifth time, they actually start recognizing those words. So, Bruno pulls out the word happy, he almost immediately knows that it's the word happy and can go and look for that word happy. And so they start reading without even realizing, it's not even work for them, they start reading in an activity in a game that they like. That same game with the words taped on the wall, I would change. Sometimes I would actually write out words of objects that we had. So if I had a little dog, if I had a little cat, a hat, a little sunshine or something, I would write those words on sticky notes and give them those objects and let them go find those, and let them find the word for their object that was on the wall. But the thing was, I just loved to line up and to go look for their word on the wall. I don't know why, that was so wonderful to them. But that was really for the more advanced kids at the end of the year. Another thing that we did with reading, so once they actually had some of these words in their vocabulary, let's say that they know the word mad by sight, or they can read happy by sight. Number one, I would begin incorporating these words in the message of the day, so they could have practice reading them there. But we would also do a game that they really liked, reading whole sentences, and this was extremely effective and had a lot of success with it that I didn't even realize it was going to be this great. So I'd write out sentences on pieces of paper. The words that they would know would be dog, or the subject words, the subject nouns would be dog, cat, boy, girl. I think those are the words. And then the expression words they knew were happy, mad, sad, maybe surprised, I think. And I would have, so these phrases on pieces of paper: the cat is sad, the cat is happy, the dog is sad, the dog is mad, the girl is surprised, whatever, right? So those phrases, they would then pick out those phrases from the magic bag. So each child would sit in a circle and they would have a phrase in their hand, and they would go individually, put their phrase down in the middle of the circle, and they can't read it at this point. It's almost overwhelming to try to read that for a child that's 4 years old. But we would take all the other words, like tons of words that I had written down that they had been working with and learning over time just by sight, and I would spread them out, the words that were actually going to be a part of their phrases. I would spread them out over to the side, and they would look for those words. So, little Amelia would have the phrase, the dog is mad. Well, she would look at the first word on her phrase, and it would say the. She would look for that same word, take it, and actually put it on top of the other piece of paper, right? So she has the word the, and she puts it on top of the that's on the phrase paper. Then she would go and, I can't remember what I said, the dog or whatever, she would go and look for that word, dog. Okay, she'd find that one, put it on, until she had the whole phrase actually with the individual words lying on top of the whole phrase. And why did we do that? It seemed, at least to me, and that it became easier for the child to actually focus on the individual words, and then read the whole sentence together, and they really liked the activity. We also did the same thing, just giving them the phrase, and then I'd have pictures that go along with it. So if Amelia has, the dog is mad, and that was her phrase, when they got really good at this, then I would just lay out pictures. So there would be a picture of a cat that was mad, a dog that was mad, and a boy that was happy, and I would say, all right, which one is yours? And again, it's a game, and they're almost, not even having to think about the fact that they're reading. They're just realizing this is a game. I have to find the picture that goes with my phrase. But they're actually reading, and that's a really great thing. We also did the whole sticking up the phrases on the wall. So the whole idea that I told you about sticking up individual words, having them go and look for their individual words and then read them to me, they would do the same thing with the phrases. So I would stick up, these exact same phrases, the cat is mad, the dog is happy, the boy is sad, around the wall. Stick them on the wall. They would each take a phrase and go, and they would stand beside their phrase, and once they found it, and then I would go to each child, and they would have the chance to read it to me, or if they didn't know what it said, I would help them with it, and they could repeat it. So, and this was actually, believe it or not, an activity that was good for children who were bilingual, who spoke English perfectly, as well as children who didn't. It was actually really great. They could repeat after me, even if they couldn't actually read it, and that was a great help for them. Also, as far as reading, the morning message really got to be a big help for them, because it was something, again, that they were motivated to do, that they wanted to read. And as the older children got better at reading certain words, I would include those words. So, for example, happy, I might say, good morning, boys and girls, because they could now read the word boys and girls. Good morning, boys and girls. Today is a happy day, because they could read the word happy, and they would get very excited that they could pick out these words. The same with the songboard, always kind of coming at it at several angles. So, if we learned the word happy and there was, a song with the word happy, if you're happy and you know it, and that was on the songboard, we would flip to it, and I'd be like, all right, find the word happy. And again, tying it all in, making it relevant, and making it all a game. So, yeah. Also, as far as reading books, that we would always do really simple books that they could actually memorize. So, Polar Bear, Brown Bear, those types of books, that the children were not actually reading them whenever they would hold the books and read it to the class. But the helper of the day had the opportunity to read those books, which is a huge success to, so Benjamin wanted to be the helper every day so that he could read Brown Bear to the class. So yeah, those books are also good, by the way, those books are also good for the children, the younger children who aren't bilingual, who aren't native speakers of English, because they do memorize them, and they'll actually get to the point where they'll say them with you, which is really great, because then they get practice speaking.